This year, we've struggled with crew a lot. It's definitely an issue, and I don't have a solution to it. All I've got to offer is a job. Oh boy, tensions are high with Parker and the other miners at Scribner Creek. Turns out Parker and his team are working with a bit of a handicap because they didn't have their full crew at this point in time, which meant that the wash plant couldn't be fed. And of course, this means that they will be unable to get all the gold that is down there. This must have been really frustrating for the team, but even more so for Parker, because he really had lofty goals for the current season. The most important thing for Parker this year was to make this season a record-breaking season, because if they were able to get a good chunk of gold, he just may have enough money to buy more territory for him and his men to carry out their digs well. With a lack of workers, Parker just had to endure the fact that he had to shut his operations down. Without enough miners out there with him, his goals would prove to be impossible to achieve. Mitch also seemed to be unable to contain his frustrations. He knew that this was the best time for them to be digging out there, and he just could not imagine how they were going to get their work done. Without getting enough miners down there, they were even losing money by making use of their wash plants. And as such, he was forced to agree with Parker, who decided to shut down their wash plants, as they didn't have enough people to feed any pay dirt into them. As everything came to a standstill, the silence in the mines was deafening. How on earth were they ever going to get back to work without enough miners? Looking for answers, Mitch went straight to Parker. How are they going to get out of this sticky situation? He knew that they were right in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic, and as such, recruiting miners may prove to be too difficult to accomplish. That said, he implored the boss to do something, because if they didn't, they would not achieve what they set out to achieve that season. To nobody's surprise, Parker agreed with Mitch. He knew that they needed to recruit some more workers. His goals were hanging by a thread, and if he didn't do something, they were not going to get their hands on the gold that is just waiting to be dug up out there. However, the problem was that if they were going to get any workers, Parker feared that they would be workers that had little to no experience. And from his own experience, getting workers without experience is almost as bad, if not worse, than getting nobody to come out there. Only God knows what kind of damage they would do if these green miners went to work with their equipment. Regardless, Mitch didn't care. He would rather get these inexperienced workers out there, maybe with a steady hand, such as theirs out there. They may be able to guide the green miners in a way that would help them avoid any major errors. Mitch was ready to train them if need be. All he wanted was for Parker to get them out there as quickly as he could. Well, Parker had received his marching orders, and as such, he promised to get these workers as quickly as possible. Let's just see what he's able to come up with. It won't be easy, but as the boss, he had no choice. He just needed to get as many hands as he could on deck. Luckily for Parker, he was able to get his hands on 2 miners. Sure, they were still wet behind the ears, but he knew that any good miner out there would not be free right now. They would be too busy working on other mines. He would just have to make do with these 2 new miners. Sure, there were no promises as to how this, but they just had to try with them. With any luck, they would prove to be successful. If you're on the lookout for more Gold Rush content, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Thanks to these new miners, Parker must have been pleased that Big Red was back to work, ripping through the valuable pay dirt at Scribner Creek with Monique Stone, a seasoned operator, working hard as well. There was every chance that Parker and his team would achieve success. However, it seems as if all eyes were on our rookie Portuguese miner Tatiana Costa. She had been hired to help the team out by working on the loader. The catch here was that not only was this her first ever mining season, but this also seemed to be the first time that she had ever fed a wash plant. As such, this was not going to be an easy gig at all. Thankfully, Mitch was not an experienced miner on this team. For nothing, as one of Parker's right-hand men, he was going to make sure that everything went well with this rookie. As such, she was on hand to give Tatiana all the guidance that she needed to get this job done. He directed her to get as much height as she could in order to avoid any accidents. Although Tatiana seemed to be nervous at the start, it soon became clear that she was competent enough for the job. For Mitch, he knew that it would be difficult for her. He also knew that it would be difficult for him to hand this job over to someone that was as green as Tatiana, especially as he didn't want anything bad to happen on the mining site. That said, he knew that a rookie had to start somewhere, and if you didn't give new people a chance, how else were they going to learn over some time? We could see Tatiana's confidence grow so much, so that Mitch felt confident enough to give her the remote for dumping the Grizzlies while he went off to do some digging of his own, after letting her know that she could reach out to him if she had any questions or problems. Along the way, the pair went to work. With any luck, the team was ready to work day and night so that they could help Parker achieve his record-breaking goal. They were already behind schedule, and as such they needed to move as quickly as possible. Thankfully, they seemed to have a competent new worker that was ready to get her hands dirty. Let's see what they will be able to achieve at the end of the day. After some time and hard work, Parker and his team gathered back at their base so that they could see how much gold they had been able to gather that week. All their challenges had proven to be difficult to overcome recently, but luckily they were actually able to get some work done thanks to the recruitment of the rookies. The only question left for the guys to answer was how much gold the team had been able to gather during such a difficult time. With that in mind, the next thing for them to do was to see how much gold they had been able to gather so far. They were kind of nervous because on average they gathered about 200 ounces of gold per week this season with Big Red. However, upon seeing the big jar that they had on their hands, their mood picked up. What did they have in there? Well, all worries seemed to evaporate as they poured their gold onto the scale. The first jar seems to continue to spill out gold forever, and after some time they realized that Big Red had helped them gather about 356 ounces of gold, whilst Lucifer also did very well by helping them gather about 272.950 of gold in total. This helped them get 629 ounces of gold that week. Amazing, right? Especially as it helped them get to a total of 233 for the season so far. Talk about a record-breaking season, especially as 629 was worth about $1.1 million. As such, we can see that it is actually possible for Parker and the team to get all the money that they needed to get the new ground to expand his operations. With any luck, this would help Parker and his team get through their rush for that precious gold. Want to see more gold? Subscribe now and join the hunt for lost treasures, hidden riches, and legendary gold discovery.